also, thank you, Pioneered, for stepping up. Glad you weren't sleeping. All right, so now we're making the next transition in the life cycle. And that was the end of our childhood. Now we are transitioning to the phase of, dread the thought, I have two of them, teenagers.
Next up, we're going to be exploring our teenage years. Some of you might want to go back there, some of you might not, but either way, we've all been through it. And we've got a few questions about this. I think even our young friend up there has some questions, don't you?
Yes, sure. How will we play in the future? And how will we drive?
Okay, those are great questions. Thank you, Pioneered. And here to help us talk about how life is going to be different in the future with the help of AR, VR, and XR, and how we will unwind in the future, please welcome from Varjo, Nico Eiden. All right.
To ignite an idea, be it for a project or to found a startup, the recipe usually is fairly simple. First of all, obviously, you need some sort of idea. And the idea can come from deep research. You dig a hole for a while, you come up with an idea. Or you can combine things that are already existing and create something new out of it. But an idea will never bring you very far if you don't have a good story. You need a story to ignite the people, to get them excited. And the third element you need is a little bit of proof, to bring you the credibility that you can pull it off. In the case of Varjo, the company that we founded, the idea was fairly simple. Take a virtual reality headset, slam 2 cameras in front of it, and create the device with what you can see through the virtual world into reality. It's called a video pass-through system, VST, and it wasn't a novel idea. Things like that had existed already. But the story that we created for it made sense. A device that can combine the virtual reality and the best of the augmented reality devices, be in the middle, allow you to shift between these two worlds seamlessly. A VR device, you're stuck in virtual reality. With AR, you're stuck in reality. And the proof that we came up was a simple prototype. It was an Oculus DK1. I think we had 2 OmniVision 720p cameras that we connected with BlueTAC in front of the Oculus DK1. And we created a very simple scene where you could see the room and the room would be dimmed down. There were a couple of planets hanging and there was fog in the room. The experience was surprisingly strong. However, with the VST system, there's usually always this one question, which is latency. With latency, we mean that when a photon hits the camera, there's always a lag, a certain amount of time before the photon comes back to the display and hits your eye. And if you, for example, wave your hand in front of the camera like this, your hand is moving before you can see it. And that creates a problem. And this was usually always the comment when somebody talked about doing a VST system. Don't bother. The latency is going to kill you. Despite this, we got the funding we needed, and we founded Varjo in late 2016. 1.5 years later, we did this.
Since we can't change reality, we change the eyes that see reality.
Now there's a catch within this video, a couple of pretty cool things. First of all, what you saw was taken with a prototype, and the latency of this prototype was good enough to catch a ball. So when you were wearing it, you could catch a ball if somebody threw it to you. Latency, check. Second thing is, you could see very high quality graphical content which was mixed with the reality, and there was a seamless transfer from reality to a virtual world and back, and that was all captured in one session. Usually I get the question that, okay, how does this compare with AR devices? Because they are bringing you the promise of actually adding this virtual content to reality. With AR devices, there is usually a big problem, and that is that optical setup systems you can only overlay with more light. This picture was taken with an AR device, trying to represent a motorcycle inside a room. You can see that the images are pretty pale because you can't add darkness. And this is one key thing I want you to take with you. With AR, with the setups that you're seeing today, you can't add darkness. Darth Vader in the same scene would be purple or pink. Second problem here is obviously the field of view, so we're clipping the image and you don't get that cool feeling that it looks real. Now, if we go back to a video pass-through system to do mixed reality, I'd like to show you a video that we took fairly early on. We never intended to publicly show this video, but these two videos are pretty cool clips. In this video, Rob, one of the founders, is holding a real car in his right hand. That's a smaller one. And there will be a virtual car on his left hand, a real window, a real room, and real light. Compare the reflections between those two cars. And this was captured through a mixed reality device. Out there today, there is no single device that could pull this one off. Let's turn the other way around. A virtual lamp, a real window, a real room. The real window is casting a shadow, which is virtual because the lamp is virtual, and the virtual lamp is casting virtual light onto the real wall. With this type of mixed reality, you can start to change reality. We could replace one wall inside this hall with a completely new world, and that world would look as real as reality here. But there's always one catch. And when we started doing the mixed reality as we anticipated, we hit a problem, and the problem is resolution in virtual reality. And I guess most of you have tried at least once VR, and the resolution isn't quite there. I mean, after the first wow effect, you kind of realize that there is a problem with the resolution. Our goal, before we could actually tackle the mixed reality thing that I was showing, was first to fix virtual reality resolution and match the human eye. And human eye, if you want to match it, it means that you have to create 60 pixels per 1 degree field of view. So for 1 degree of my vision, horizontally, I need 60 pixels on the screen. That's quite a lot. The best device currently from an enterprise segment on the market is doing 14 pixels per degree. You need 60. A few months ago, we launched a product that we call VR1, and with VR1, we were able to hit that limit of 60 pixels per degree. You are able to read a virtual newspaper when you're in a virtual session. You are able to see a computer monitor in the same resolution as you would be seeing in reality with this device. And the way how we did it, again, was fairly simple. We used 4 displays instead of 2 that are used usually in high-end VR devices. We have a context display that provides you the full field of view, and then in the center, there is a focus display that we are overlaying with the help of an optical mirror in the center and top of the context display. We don't have the full area in high resolution, we have a center area, roughly 30 degrees field of view. And that starts to be the area that when you look over 15 degrees to one side, you start to naturally turn your head. So it works. It's not ideal, but it works. And it's something that nobody has else ever seen before in VR. This here image is a view of a car dashboard with the best headset out there on the market, apart from ours. This is how it looks like with VR1. And these images were taken with a camera from the mask, so these are not reproductions. What this opens up is a completely new world of opportunities, also from a virtual reality perspective. You can do things that you couldn't do before. If you are a customer buying a car and configuring it in a VR showroom, you can actually see the stitching of the leather in the car for the first time. If you are a designer creating that car, you can today already press one button on your Autodesk VRED system, that is the system that usually is being used to design cars, and you can see your car in full scale, in virtual reality. You can walk around that car, you can see how the bonnet flows. That accelerates the design process immensely. If you are an architect, you can see the building you are designing in full scale, in high detail. And this full scale is pretty bombastic because that didn't exist before. You can see your building even in the right place where it's supposed to be built. You can walk in the building, you can see how the light plays and flows inside the room before a single brick has been laid. We believe that these type of devices will change the way how people work in the future. Once a designer spends a couple of hours per day in their daily routine in virtual reality or mixed reality, that means that the tools that we use today have changed. We captured a place in Japan in very high resolution not too long ago. And after we captured that place, we took out the illumination. We took out all of the light out of the scene, and we replaced that illumination with artificial lighting to make the day go faster. Let's have a look how it looks like. Doesn't start. With this scene, for the first time, you can see stars in virtual reality. And recreating these type of very high-resolution 3D models, it's really hot from a graphics perspective these days. There's a lot going on, and today we can render images 60, 90 frames per second that previously took minutes, if not hours, actually to render. So it's a great place to do and recreate reality in VR. Very soon we will be launching, finally, the mixed reality add-on to the human eye resolution headset that we've created, and we can start to redefine reality as well. Thanks for listening, and swing by downstairs. We can bring you to Mount Koyasan for a second. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Nico. Very cool stuff.
Thanks.
I was telling someone backstage, this guy is busy making the Matrix already.
Absolutely.
So we've got some questions for
Sure,
you
go ahead.
on Slido. So KW would like to know, where would you use this technology other than in games?
Well, we are not using it in games these days. So we're using it to train people, so to train pilots. Pilots can train in a virtual cockpit. They can actually read the displays. We are using it to improve the design tools. It's being used in research as well. And then from a mixed reality perspective, those examples I was talking were pure VR. There are pretty cool examples where you can combine new designs into something existing and experience the new. Sounds a bit mystical, but let's keep it that way.
Okay,
for a
very
while.
cool. Virtual trips?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
For the pilots, you have to have a certain number of actual hours flying.
Yeah.
Is there any regulatory situation around the world where VR has enabled a diminishment of the number of hours required?
It's definitely something that they are looking after. I mean, the first step is obviously to familiarize yourself with the cockpit. You don't need the big training simulator for those type of things. So you can kind of make the process faster, but obviously it's a certification case, but there are all around in the US and Europe as well, there are exercises ongoing for exactly that purpose.
Okay, cool. And one more question from Anonymous. Says, your demos show banding artifacts in light gradients. I think they might be in the business. Is this apparent also when looking through Varjo, or is that just visible in your demo videos?
You need to swing by and have a look at the demo downstairs and check it out yourself.
He says with quiet, cold confidence. So I'm guessing no.
No.
They do not show up there.
No.
Okay, excellent. And I think we're ready. So
Super.
Another round of applause for Nico.
Thank you.
All right, well done.
Thank you.
Cheers.